What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Full Moon Fridays here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel, where every 2 weeks we talk about another shitty full moon movie. We are in the midst right now of the Trancers franchise, and it started high, and it's going like this, and maybe Trancers 4, which is what we're going to talk about today, will bring it back up. We're going to see. Joining me once again to talk about the further adventures of Jack Death over there in Sweden is Borb.
Hello, hello.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
It's nice. That's all I wanted
Cool.
to say.
Okay,
Steve,
cool.
Steve is here as well.
Yeah, I'm here. Like, wouldn't it be funny if Bort made plans to wear that same shirt for the next 2 episodes too?
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that would. Interesting. We'll see what happens, Steve. We'll see what happens. So, Trancers, we really loved it. Trancers 1.5, we dug it. It was fun. Trancers 2, starting to go downhill. Trancers 3, what's happening here? And now we're at Trancers 4. Now, the end of last episode, you guys asked me, what did you think it was going to be about? And initially, I thought, well, what if Jack Death turns into a Trancer and goes bad, and then they have to, like, fight him or something? And you're like, well, the subtitle here is Jack of Swords. Now what do you think it is? I'm like, oh, medieval? Are we going medieval shit here? We're going medieval shit here, guys. Borp, I'll turn it to you first before we start getting into it. Your thoughts going into Trancers 4. Where was your headspace?
I was really excited, guys. I was actually really excited, and I cannot believe I was actually excited. In hindsight, I should have seen this coming. Because, like, look, at the end of the last episode, Steve was like, all right, don't read ahead. And I had already read ahead, and I was, like, getting excited just by the subtitle and, like, just kind of thinking of all the fun stuff they could do of, like, breaking away from the first three films. And, like, I don't know, there's so much cool shit you can do with time travel. And, like, this series it's like, pretty fun. And just seeing the subtitles, Yak of Swords, they did it again.
Okay. I love that you said there's so many cool things you can do with time travel. I thought Steve's head was going to burst when you said that phrase. Steve, your thoughts going into Trancers 4?
First of all, like, time travel is like herpes for story writing. But I'm in the same boat that Borp was in. Like, I I didn't, like, read ahead. I didn't, like, read what the story was about. I just saw the subtitle, and I looked at some images from the film, and I was like, oh shit, like, they're going back to, like, is Jack Death going to, like, go back down the line to, like, the 1200s or something to fight Trancers then? Like, I can't say I expected the movie to be good, but I was excited to see them do something different. And like Borp, my disappointment was immense. God damn, this movie.
When you first mentioned Jack of Swords, and I'm like, okay, my initial thing is like, oh, well, I like Army of Darkness. Who doesn't like Army of Darkness? That's, Ash going back into the Middle Ages and doing his thing. But then I realized after we were done with the call, I'm like, wait a minute, I fucking hate medieval stuff in general. Like, I don't like that time period. I don't like swords in that time. Like, give me ancient Roman stuff, that's fine. But putting all that kind of shit in medieval times, there's something about the aesthetic I don't like. Like, I hate Game of Thrones. I hate all of that shit. So then I became, well, I'm less excited going into this now. So let's get into it. Steve, talk to us about Trancers 4, which was actually the first one not directed by Charles Band. It was C. Courtney Joyner, I believe, and David Nutter. We'll talk about that in a second. David Nutter did this one and Part 5, and written by Peter David, who's a very famous comic book writer. So David Nutter has done a ton of very sort of famous television work. He worked on Smallville. He's done a million, like, of the best X-Files episodes. He's done Millennium. He's one of, I think he did Game of Thrones shit.
Yeah, this is like Band of Brothers as well.
Yes, Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
This is a director who he has chops. He has chops. And so when I saw his name pop up, I was like, oh shit, David Nutter directed this. Okay, this seems kind of cool. Peter David, great comic book writer. we got some talent behind the camera here. So, Steve, walk us through what this talent provided us.
So we start off in the future. Jack Death is coming back from a mission, and like the Trancers are gone, and Jack Death, like he's not really fulfilled in his life anymore because he likes killing Trancers. Now he's someone that gets sent throughout time because now again we talked about like every movie the time travel technology gets better. Now they just have an actual fucking time machine that they can use whenever they want. And so he gets sent to places where, like, I don't know, I guess to stop time from changing. So apparently there was some outbreak of plant monsters in the past, and he got sent back to fight the plant monsters, which is just a thing that you do now when you're Jack Death and
This
you're
is like
four
the
movies deep.
early version of the TVA. He's like chopping branch timelines and stuff.
Yeah,
He's stopping
that's
things from happening.
exactly what he's doing. He's trying to preserve the timeline after doing absolutely every fucking thing he could to destroy it in the first three movies. Uh,
Right, this is completely new, right? They never mentioned any of this in the first three.
no, no,
He is just just quote unquote a transfer hunter in the first three films, right?
yes,
Right, so this is
Yes.
a new
yes,
assignment.
yeah,
And,
because
and Borb,
the part. Sorry,
go
go
ahead,
ahead, Grant.
Steve.
No,
Oh,
part three was he went back in time and killed the first Trancers ever, and so now they don't exist at all in the future. So like he's
Right.
out of Trancers to kill.
They should have just done that from the beginning.
yeah. Well, Borp,
Mhm.
that note you mentioned that I wanted to bring. Of course, I'm reading this wonderful book here. If anyone who's really interested in everything Full Moon here, it came from the video aisle. Goes through like the entire history of Full Moon, and I was kind of reading the entire section on Trancers and the Jay Welfel. This is actually coming from the director of Trancers 6. So he was like, this is what Jack Death stuff was always supposed to be. The series was supposed to be, instead of using Trancers for all the movies, they instead had gone with titles like Jack Death meets the Abominable Snowman, meaning each episode is a new adventure for Jack Death and wouldn't need to involve Trancers or even time travel. So the original idea behind Trancers was not that there was going to be time travel and not that the Trancers are going to be reoccurring. It was, hey, it was just standalone adventures of this hard-boiled detective encountering various monsters and doing its thing. I would have preferred that, I think.
But then Charles Band's like, shit, that sounds like it requires a lot of work,
Yep.
and so he did the opposite.
We
Yes.
need to break the continuity so as much as possible because this is
Yep.
the Full Moon franchise.
Yes. Basically. So
So, anyways, yeah,
there you go.
Jack Death is now just the TVA. He got sent back in time to fight plant monsters, and he comes. There's like, even though most of this movie takes place in, like, I don't know, what's actually like an alternate dimension, it's not past Earth. There's like a good like 10 minutes that take place like in the future of Jack Death's world, and so he's talking to like the military guy that became part of the council in part three. And this, I don't remember. I think it maybe his name is Harris. So it's Harris, the council member, and Jack Death is like, well, hey, okay, I finished this mission. Where's Alice? Helen Hunt's not in the series anymore. So he's like, well, let me go to my backup wife. Where's Alice at? And Harris is like,
My
sorry,
dick's
Jack.
in her.
Yeah, I've kind of been banging your wife. And Jack Death is like, what the fuck? He's like, Jack, you're never here anymore. You're always out on missions. Harris and his wife Alice are the people sending him out on missions. So like his wife has been. Jack Death just can't get ahead with women. Jack Death's wife keeps sending him on missions so that she has time with her affair partner. Like that is the setup for this movie.
Weird.
Uh,
It's very weird. It's almost
very
like
weird.
hey, that actress ain't coming back. We got to write her out, but they did it in the ookiest way they could to
Yeah,
undermine the main character of the franchise.
yeah, but that's fine because she immediately gets replaced with a new love interest, a scientist from the future named Lyra, I think is her name, and she's in charge of making new weapons for Jack Death, and so she's like, oh, here's get rid of your old gun. Here is like a laser gun that can use anything for ammo. Like you pour sand in it and it will turn sand into ammo. You put a rock in it and it'll turn the rock into ammo. Here's your long second watch. and Jack Death is immediately like hitting on her. Like he goes to a bar and hits on her, and she is not having it. And the next day he finds out, oh shit, this is the scientist making my new equipment. And Jack Death has some real cringy fucking lines in this movie when it comes to women. Like he's talking to Lyra and he's like, "You're so smart. You know, if you want men to like you, you should be less smart. Like you should, make yourself more approachable." Uh, he tells her that a woman isn't a real woman unless she makes a man wants to bust her in the chops, and then he said
Yeah.
a man isn't a real man unless he resists the urge to do it. It's like holy shit. Jack Death,
Yeah. Problematic,
yeah,
as they'd
Jack
say.
Death became real problematic in this movie. But anyways, he's trying to put the moves on Lyra, the weapons designer, and not she's not having it. Uh, but now it's time for Jack to go on his next mission, and so Harris puts him into the time travel pod, and then one of the plant monsters that he went back in time to kill just like appears in the pod. They're like, oh no, it must have regrown inside the pod. And when Jack got inside the pod, he just didn't look in the back seat to notice the giant plant monster that's in the pod with him. Um,
It's easy to miss.
anyways, yeah. The plant monster attacks Jack Death. They fight inside the time travel pod. That damages the time travel pod, and so instead of sending him back in time, it sends him to another dimension, which again, every movie the time travel stuff gets like more advanced. In the first movie you could just send your consciousness back in time, and then in part 2 you could send like a pod back in time that could bring someone back to the future, and then part 3 they've got just an actual fucking time machine, and now in part 4 interdimensional travel is possible with this machine. It's just they
Well,
just
I think I don't know if it was in 4 or 5, because again, Peter David, the comic book writer, wrote this. They literally used the word multiverse, so they have established that there's a multiverse within the Trancers universe. So
so there's a
as soon as I heard,
multiverse and time travel. Yay.
yes, there you go, Steve. I mean,
God.
this franchise has devolved into everything you hate.
It really has.
We should
Anyways,
also probably mention that they also kill off Shark off screen from the
but
last
yeah,
film.
Shark
Oh
gets fixed
The,
and
yeah,
neutered.
the one like kind of cool character. We're all like, "Wow, that guy looks fucked up." Now he's gone.
Yeah. So Shark at the end of part 3, Shark, the giant cyborg that they built to look like a fish monster for no particular reason, he gets assigned to be Jack Death's partner. And so at the beginning of 4, Jack Death comes back alone, and Harris is like, "Where's Shark?" And Jack Death is like, well, about Shark," and he just holds up Shark's severed head. And Jack Death is like, "Oh, what do you think? Can we turn him into like a lamp or a nightlight or something?" Which I actually thought was funny because a little bit later they pay that off. After Jack Death tries to hit on the scientist lady and fails, there's a shot of him going to sleep at night, and sure enough, on the table next to him is a lamp made out of Shark's severed head. That actually got a laugh out of me.
Yeah. It's a good bit.
That was the only laugh,
Yeah,
but it
it's
was
just
there.
also kind of weird. They set up the last movie. It's like, all right, these guys are buddies. Now they're sidekicks, and now nope.
yeah.
Nope, Shark is dead.
It's so weird. You would think, like, why wouldn't you want that character to continue on in this? It would have been cool to see
Because it
both of their
costs
adventures.
money.
That's true. That's true. Sure.
So, anyways, the plant monster damages the pod, and so they get sent to another dimension. I think the dimension's called like Orpheus. I think is the name they get it. They give it. I don't know. Here's what you need to know about Orpheus. This world used to be controlled by a wizard, and then a trancer vam. Shut up! This is legit.
I'm laughing. I'm just laughing.
This world used to be controlled by a wizard.
It's just hard to listen to.
and then like a trancer named Caliban killed the wizard and like took over the world essentially. And like the trancers in this movie are basically just vampires, but instead
Yeah.
of like biting people, they just touch them and drain their life energy. And
Energy
the
vampires.
yeah, I think like their official name is nobles, but they are Trancer vampires. Uh,
It's a fucking sneak subspecies movie. I cannot believe I was tricked into watching another fucking subspecies movie.
Yeah, this
oh,
is very similar to subspecies. Even like the way they kind of vamp out looks very
Yeah,
Radu-esque. I mean, it's yeah,
yeah,
and
like this
all of this stuff is like related to Shakespeare, like Caliban and
yeah.
Prospero is in this, and they try to like throw there's ancient Greek shit all over in this, and it's just like none of this works. None of
no,
this works.
absolutely not. This is all filmed like in and around like the full moon castle that they had in Romania. So this is 100%. We have a location. Let's write a story around it rather than let's make a natural Trancers movie. But anyways, Jack Death is now in Orpheus, and he there's a Trancer trying to like drain a woman's life energy. Jack Death fights him and kills the Trancer. And so the woman that he saved goes running back to a group called the Tunnel Rats, and these are like a resistance fighter group. Uh, and then we see, I mean, I don't even know how to describe what happens in this movie. Jack Death kind of does nothing for a solid hour in the middle while everyone just educates him on the happenings going on in this world. Uh,
Who's
Jack
that
Death
girl
is,
that plays like Shailene or whatever? That actress is awful. Every time she's
yeah,
on screen, she is so
the
bad.
one that has the hots for Prospero. Is that
Yes,
Yeah, so I
she's
mean,
terrible.
Jack Death is like I would argue almost unimportant for like a solid hour in this movie, because we learn about the tunnel rats and they have like some mystical psychic guy that draws pictures of the future, and one of his pictures is Jack Death. So it's very much Army of Darkness with the prophesized hero from the future.
Yeah.
So there's a picture of Jack Death like standing on a mountain holding his laser gun to the sky and getting struck by lightning, like you do. We see back in the Trancer Castle, Caliban is his son Prospero is about to have some coming of age ceremony where he has to drain a person's life energy to, I guess, to show that he can, but he refuses. He doesn't want to be an evil Trancer vampire, and so there's
The pathos of that guy. Oh man, it's so important that he's really resisting, draining these beautiful women. He just can't do it. It's so important. That's what I want to see in a Trancers movie. Is this fucking
yes.
guy resisting draining some randos. That's what I want to
Well,
see.
it's not even a rando. It's they're like the main girl, question mark, in the past is like a double of Lyra from the future. Like she doesn't even have a name. At one point, Jack Death just calls her Lyra because he thinks it's her, and she's like, "Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I'll make Lyra my name now." She just goes by Lyra for the rest of the movie. But she is this very like submissive woman. Like she goes to Prospero and is like, pick me for the ceremony, drain my life energy. I'm offering myself to you. And Prospero does not want to participate. He does not want to be this evil Trancer vampire, much to the great disappointment of his dad. Uh, Jack Death gets captured at one point, and like Caliban has this weird, like respectful relationship with Jack Death at first, or he's like, I admire you. I understand you're from the future. You've got all of these magical weapons. By the way, Jack Death's weapons don't work in this world for no explained reason. It's just like the magic's messing with it. So he's got this super awesome ray gun that's supposed to run on anything, and it does nothing to the Trancers. When he activates his long second, it slows him down, and so there actually is like a somewhat funny scene where he's moving in slow motion, but everyone else is like perfectly fine. They're like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" Like,
It reminded me
so
of
like,
that scene in Ace Ventura when Jim Carrey's going in slow motion and everyone's like looking at him. That's what it reminded me of.
yeah. I mean, that. I mean, there's a bit of humor to be found here. Like they had some fun with future things not working in the past. But anyways, Jack Death gets captured. Caliban like shows him respect, just gives him Lyra. Like Jack Death like wakes up in the castle and like he's not like chained to a wall or anything. He wakes up and Lyra's there, and she's basically like, "Hey, I was told, Caliban told me to do whatever you want." And first, Jack Death is like, "No, I'm. This is not consensual. I'm not going to touch you. This is wrong." And she goes, "Well, if you don't do anything with me, then Caliban's going to kill me." And Jack Death is like, "Eh." And so Jack Death bangs this slave girl who has just adopted the name of Lyra because that's what she was called, and she doesn't. If she has an actual name, like it's not uttered
Yeah.
anywhere else in the movie, I don't think.
It's so sad because the character of Jack Death was awesome in the first
Yes.
Trancers, and awesome in even 1.5. It was awesome, and man, they just destroyed this character. I hate this guy. Like I don't
Yeah.
like Tim Thomerson can still throw out some one-liners every once in a while. He has enough charisma in that sense, but it's like I don't really want to follow this dude at all because he's just kind of an asshole
Yeah.
doing this
He
awful
sucks.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also like this movie is very quippy in a way that I feel the first three are as well, but like I feel like this one is like overbearing with it. The quips are also a lot worse. Um, but they also just miss a lot of opportunities for jokes. Like I thought the them having sex would like be a thing where like, oh, okay, now they're gonna pretend to bang, and so it's gonna be like a whole thing of like, all because Yak Def wouldn't do. No, Yak Def just has sex with a sex slave, I guess. That's okay.
Yeah. I
Weird.
mean, she's there. I mean,
And
he
then the next,
resisted initially, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
what
you got to
he
do what you got to
he
do.
he did it for her. Like she was going to be
Yeah,
punished if he didn't give in. And the next day he treats her like garbage.
right.
Like she's like, "Oh, we've made love. That's such a magical thing." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever. Leave me alone. Like we did our thing. We're done." Uh, anyways, Caliban, like, once he figures out that he can't, suck up to Jack Death and get Jack Death to like return like a mutual respect relationship with him, Caliban then just actually imprisons him. And Caliban recognizes that these weapons are from the future or another dimension or a little of column A, a little of column B, and he wants to get back to this future world. I don't know why. Like the world that Jack Death comes from is a world where there's an army of trained Trancer killers, but Caliban isn't thinking that far ahead. Caliban wants to go to this future world, and Jack Death is not having it, and so Caliban's going to have Jack Death tortured until he complies. Then the street rats come up and
tunnel
rescue Jack
rats.
Death. Tunnel rats, yes.
Come on.
Uh,
Even though there's
I'm
no
sorry.
tunnels,
I can only
technically,
remember so much.
technically they are street rats because they're not around in any tunnels at all. I don't
Yeah.
think.
The Tunnel Rats rescue Jack Death. Prospero, kind of somewhat against his will, joins their cause. Uh, they go hang out in, I don't know, Tunnel Rat Central, where Prospero continues to try to resist his urge, but the girl Shailene, the worst actress in this movie, like willingly offers herself to him. And she has like a weird backstory where it's like the Trancers killed her husband in front of her, and the Trancers were about to kill her, and Prospero shows up and is like, "No, stop! She suffered enough." And now years later, she wants Prospero to just be like a replacement husband for her. I don't know. It's fucking weird. But yeah, Prospero and Shailene have some weird love story going on. Anyways, this seer person shows Jack Death his paintings of Jack Death in the future, which kind of convinces everyone that you know, Jack Death is tied to the future of Orpheus.
Yeah.
He gets shown the picture of Jack Death. Jack Death sees the picture of Jack Death standing on a mountain, like pointing his gun up to the sky with lightning hitting it.
Well, that's funny because it's like, okay, like you said, Steve. An hour into the movie finally realized, and all the characters, oh, Jack Death is actually like the primary person that should be
Yeah,
in charge here. The first hour of this movie is just fucking trash. It's like nothing is happening that we give a shit about at all. These villains are awful. Caliban is stupid looking. He's stupid acting. He does stupid bullshit. His who's his henchman? what was that? What's that dude that's like, oh God, what was his name? It's not Prospero. It's the other guy trying to replace. He's
I
like,
know who you're talking about.
he's like, I should be. He's the one that, because Prospero is supposed to get the whole kingdom of Orpheus, or whatever, but he's got to go through this rite of passage. And there's this other dude,
Lucius.
Lucius. Yeah, it's Lucius, and Lucius was the one that killed Shailene's husband,
Right.
I think, back in the past. And there's this whole subplot with Lucius wanting to be like, I don't think he's actual Caliban's son, but he wants to basically be in Prospero's place, whatever. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about any of this bullshit. Borp, do you give a fuck about anything that's happening in this movie?
No, because also nothing matters up until like an hour into it. Like all of this stuff is just nonsense. It's just filler. It's just, like no.
Like
Okay.
we'll probably talk about this more next week.
No, no,
But
no.
like 4 and 5 were filmed back to back,
Yep.
and it's very clear
Yes.
that they only had one movie worth of material, if that, and they stretched it into two. Yeah. So I mean,
It's
the
like
whole
so,
there's a whole hour of this movie that could have been condensed to 10 minutes.
yeah, it's like
Oh yeah.
very telling that when we get to Trancers 5, it starts with an 8-minute recap of this movie, and you get all the stuff. It's like that's what you
Ah,
need.
God.
I mean,
Damn.
I don't know. I'm just gonna skip to the end. Like, uh, Caliban and his forces attack. The tunnel rats have like booby trapped this forest they're in, so the all of the Trancers except for Lucius and Caliban like just get killed by just random, a spike trap. A tunnel rat is hiding in a bush and shoots one with a bow and arrow. Like I'm watching this and I'm like, why were they struggling against these Trancers? Like these Trancers are not any more durable or stronger than a normal person. It's like they kill them with normal everyday medieval weapons. Like maybe with like the exception of Caliban. But it gets down to like Shailene and Prospero kind of team up to fight off Lucius. Lucius gets an eye gouged out. We'll see him again in part 5. Shailene and Prospero are now going to kind of sort of be an item. Um, but Jack Death has to go and fight Caliban now, and so Jack Death can't do any damage to Caliban. Like his weapons don't work. His magic future weapons don't work, and so Caliban is hunting him down. And Jack Death originally is like, this is fucking stupid. Magic doesn't exist. You're all fucking crazy. Even after he saw the painting of himself, standing on a mountain painted by a man that couldn't possibly have known he existed, he's like, no, this is fucking stupid. This is bullshit. But he gets to the point where he looks around and he's like, oh shit, this is the place that the magic seer guy like painted me at. Like he starts to kind of believe, and it's like the edge of a cliff. And so Jack Death is pushed up to the edge of the cliff, and Caliban is, they're about to either kill him or push him off. And Jack Death's like, well, fuck it. I may as well do what the picture did. And so a portal opens in the sky, and the fucking wizard comes out. just randomly, just a portal opens in the sky, and it's like a image of a wizard's face just going. And Jack Death is like, well, shit, I may as well like hold my gun up in the air like the picture of me did. And so he holds his gun up in the air, and lightning strikes his gun, and then he disappears. Like he
Yeah.
vanishes. And Caliban's like, where did he go? And then Jack Death just walks in from the other side of the screen and
Surprise,
shoots Caliban.
motherfucker!
Movie magic.
Like he
Yeah,
teleports or something?
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
he teleported like 6 feet away to
Yep.
get behind Caliban and shoots Caliban with his gun, which now works because I guess it's empowered by magic. Caliban uses his last moments to denounce Prospero and say, I have no son. Uh, all the Trancers, aside from Lucius, are dead. Jack Death and Prospero and Shailene and all the Tunnel Rats are like, yay, we won. And then they hear Caliban's evil laugh. And so it's a cliffhanger. And that's the end of part 4.
What
What the fuck?
Yeah, one important point that we should mention that'll go into
No,
part
there are
5.
no important points in this movie.
Well, a contextual point, I should say, is that in this universe, the Trancers don't generally just go out and kill people. They basically have to drain them, but they use a color system, right? So when they first start draining them, it's like blue, and as long as it does, I think there's a third, like there's 3 stages.
No, it
As long as
starts white. It's like if they
white, yeah.
drain them, yeah, if they drain them, but their aura is still white, it's basically like no damage to the human. When it turns blue, it's like damage has been done, and when it turns red, the human's on the verge of death.
Yeah, and so they have to they go through this whole sort of thing like, well, we can't kill everybody because we have to be able to drain people. So they're Caliban is trying to ride this line of like, well, we'll just feed on you guys. Just let us feed on you a little bit. We'll let you live. So I'm a benevolent ruler here. I'll let you live. Just let us like suck some of your energy out here and there. But that becomes important in part 5 because the Trancers are like freaking out because they need food essentially and they can't get any. But
I didn't
yeah,
understand that though, because there's another part in the movie where Caliban is talking to Prospero, and Caliban is trying to convince Prospero to like feed, but he says like food will sustain our bodies, but we need human energy for this other reason. I'm like, wait, so you could just eat normally and be fine, like you wouldn't have your transfer powers, but you'd be fine. I'm like, why is Prospero struggling with this? Like just go have some bacon and eggs, like, you'll be fine. Like it's weird how they set this up.
Prospero's
And again,
struggle
and
is
again,
real.
none of the Trancers are like any, aside from Caliban, none of the Trancers are any stronger or more durable than anyone else. Like I was watching this and I was like, okay, this Trancer just died from a bow and arrow. Like there's way more humans than there are Trancers. Just give everybody a bow and arrow and storm the castle, and you're gonna win. Like aside from Caliban,
Borp,
I don't know.
what are your
Hello.
thoughts on Trancers 4?
I really did not like this one bit. This is the roughest movie for me to get through in quite a while for this show. It's not
Just wait
even the.
till 2 weeks down the line.
Hmm. This was really difficult for me to get through. I was so excited. Go not okay. I don't. Not gonna speak in hyperbolic terms here, but uh, I was excited going into this because you read the title and it's like, okay, is this like a swords and sandals? Like we go in like Army of Darkness. You read the plot description, it sounds even more like that. You see the poster, it looks like a fucking Star Wars movie, and you get 15 minutes into it, and it's fucking subspecies. God damn it! I was so like I was angry that I let myself get to the point where I was like, yeah, maybe they'll do something cool with this. Of course they weren't going to do that. Um, I just think like an hour of this movie is just completely unnecessary. And it's fucking bullshit. Like all of it, it's this. I watched Subspecies recently, and it has so many similarities to that movie. Where like the evil, it's like an evil family of some sort. Or like one of the people in the family is evil, and in Subspecies you have the brother who's like trying to live life as a vampire but be good, and here you have the father and the son, and it's just like I, you should be able to come up with more interesting, fun ideas. Like even if you don't like time travel stories or whatever, like having them kind of come into this movie and just wipe the slate clean of like, okay, we have Jack Def, he's going on adventures. Like that is kind of exciting to me. But then it's like, oh right, this is Full Moon. They're just gonna retread the same ground over and over again, and I was disappointed.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna read a bit here from Peter David, who is the writer of 4 and 5. So this will bleed a little over into part 5 as well, but it's interesting context here. So again, this comes from it came from the Video Isle book. And the writer says one would have to concur that the series was in need of some new, fresh directions. Indeed, Tim Thomerson had suggested on many occasions that any further Trancers episodes should move down a more action oriented, post apocalyptic path. Sam Spade by way of Mad Max. But taking Peter David's screenplays at face value is in itself a little unfair, as he makes it clear that his transfer scripts were certainly not filmed as written. Quote, "Oh, where to start? I'll give you a small example," unquote, laments David. There's a scene in this first one where Jack Death and his companion are on horseback riding through this horrible cursed forest, and everything seems pleasant around them. And Jack says, "This cursed forest doesn't seem so bad." Bam! Crack of lightning overhead. The sun vanishes, the sky blackens, and rain starts pouring down in sheets. Cut to Jack and his companion crouched in a cave over a fire while there's howling outside, and we see the glowing eyes of creatures in the darkness watching them. Now, no money for a rain machine. No money for optical effects. No production time to soak the actors and then drive them for reshoots. The result? Jack says, "This cursed forest doesn't seem so bad," and they keep writing. There's no element of danger or supernatural in the forest, and it kills the mood, or at least fails to provide a mood. Then there were the rebels, who were referred to as tunnel rats. Why? Because they lived in caves. The entire climax of the film was supposed to be the Trancers hunting the rats through the caves. Guess what? No caves. So it was now the ineptly named tunnel rats running around in the open, making them easy to spot. That was nothing compared to the second film, which stay tuned in 2 weeks, and I'll tell you what Peter David says about part five. And that's the thing, like, the when you have no budgets, you have no anything. There's no creativity, really. You could have creative stuff, right?
Compromise.
Yeah, Tim Thomerson is like, hey, let's do this. Let's do Mad Max via, type of thing. And you have Peter David writing in the script. Here's the mood. Here's the atmosphere. This is what it's supposed to be. And then you have Charles Band saying, "Fuck that. We're gonna make this for absolutely nothing. I don't give a shit. I just want to pump something out so that it can sell the blockbuster or whatever." It's just, you know, this is I think after Transfer 6, it'll be our 30th Full Moon Fridays episode. 30 films we've gone through, whether it's Subspecies, Puppet Master, Trancers, the big three sort of franchises that Full Moon was most known for. And the thing I'm struck by going through all of this is how shitty I think Charles Band is. Because I had this thing, I was like, man, Charles Band, he made all this cool stuff, pumped this out. But no, as a kid, yes, I think all this was cool, right? Because I don't know any better. Now, as an adult, I'm like, what a fucking charlatan this guy was. And if he's listening to this, sorry, Charlie, you did a bunch of fucking stupid decisions, and I know you're trying to pump out and trying to make money for your studio and keep it going, but my God, you ran this shit into the ground, and four's not even the zenith of the bad we're going to get to with Trancers. Not even close. So my thoughts on Trancers 4, I thought this was awful. Easily the best so far of the franchise, in my opinion. Those are my thoughts.
Movie sucked. Like I was excited. I wanted to see something new. My preference would be they go forward in time because we all agree the future stuff was really cool, especially back in Trancers 1. But, getting away from, 80s, 90s Los Angeles is still a change, and I wanted to see what they did with that. And what they did with that was nothing. Like this movie is like a Dragon Ball Z filler episode until the episodes with like the actual fighting happen. But spoilers, the episodes with the actual fighting never actually come. Movie sucks. On to part 5.
All right.
Wow.
Any final thoughts, Borp?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, movies with no budget can be charming too. Like, if you have like a fun script, and I feel like this could have been really fun if they had a, I don't know, good, more comedic script. But Steve mentioned earlier, like, I think I laughed like once, and it's so heavy on the comedy.
I was saying, like, they needed to lean into it. Like, everyone, like, Jack Death has his one-liners and his quips. Everyone else plays this as straight as they can, and that was absolutely the wrong way to go about it when you're making a movie for $35.
Yeah,
It's,
and like
it's
compare this to Army of Darkness. Now, obviously, Army of Darkness had a much bigger budget, right? It was an actual studio film, but just look in terms of the tone and how they went about it. Everything in Army of Darkness is absurd, and everybody in it realizes it's absurd, right? And so that works, like to what Steve's saying. Lean into it. This is ridiculous. The whole premise of this is stupid. Let's just make it as fun and goofy as possible. But no, everything is super serious except for Jack Death, who is serious at times and not serious at other times. The tone is all over the place. The jokes don't work because it feels, not only are they like not well written, but they just feel out of place and forced in a lot of situations. And it's just, you know, yeah, that's it. But we're going to continue in 2 weeks, folks. We're going to talk about Trancers 5. We're going to continue this epic cliffhanger. We see all of our main characters in a freeze frame on a cliff, looking out at something. And Borb, are you excited to see where this story shakes out in part 5?
Totally.
Good, because we're going to make you watch it. So, part 5 in 2 weeks, everyone. Our thoughts on this 2-part trilogy. See you then.